Well, hello, everyone. My name is Jon Brenneman. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar on the 2026 Military Women's Memorial River Cruise from Paris to Normandy. This is a fantastic cruise. I actually went on it twice last year, escorting groups, and it's just an amazing itinerary. Before we get started, just gonna go through real quick, a little quick housekeeping. Um, as everyone should know, we are recording this. So this evening, once the webinar is over, we actually have to download it and then we upload it to YouTube. So we will send everybody a link to the video. We did start right on the hour. So if during the presentation you hear anything that you may want to revisit, just kind of make a note real quick of what time it is. And then when you get the video, which is going to be about an hour long, rather than watching through or trying to find it, you can just say, oh, at 35 minutes in, Jennifer said something that I found very interesting and I want to revisit that. You are invited to bring friends and family along. So if there's someone, literally this is your cruise, so if you would enjoy the cruise more, have more fun, if a sibling went or a friend or a neighbor, whatever that is, feel free to invite them to join us. Feel free to share the webinar with them as well. So the way this is going to work is in just a second, I'm going to turn it over to Phyllis. For those who don't know, Phyllis is the president at your association, Military Women's Memorial. I assume everybody knows that. And then when Phyllis is done, I'm going to talk real quickly about the booking procedure that we have for this cruise. And I see we don't have everybody quite on yet, but we had over 300 people register for this webinar, and there's only 61 staterooms available currently on this cruise. So obviously we have a lot more people that are interested in this than we have room for. And then the other thing would be is there are 5 different cabin categories. So for example, the classic room, which is the Riverview room, there's only 8 of them available. And so by having you go through our procedures, it allows us to date and timestamp the requests. So the first 8 people that ask for a classic room will get a classic room, and then we'll take it from there. But I'll go to more on that in a minute. Anyway, so after I talk about the booking procedures, we'll turn it over to Jennifer. She has the majority of the presentation. She's going to start out and tell us about Uniworld. I'm sure not all of you are very familiar with them. I can tell you personally, I've been on them a number of times. They're a fantastic product. We use them for all of our groups that do Paris and Normandy. In fact, we use them for almost all the groups that we do. And then after that, Jennifer's actually going to do a deep dive into Paris and Normandy, go day by day, what you're going to see and experience on this cruise. And then when we're done, we will have a Q&A. Jennifer and I will be available to answer any questions you might have. I will be on the Q&A answering questions as soon as I am done. And so during Jennifer's presentation, if you have any questions, just drop them in the Q&A. If you haven't seen it yet, if you put your cursor, your finger, your mouse, or whatever at the bottom of the screen, there should be a little menu that pulls up. You'll see a box that's got like a question mark in it. It says Q&A underneath. Just drop your questions in there. Some of them, if they're relatively simple, I will go ahead and answer in the chat. If it's something I think everyone will be interested in, even if I answer it in the Q&A, Jennifer and I will revisit it at the end. So appreciate everybody being here. Without any further ado, Phyllis, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, Jon, thank you so much. Again, my name is Phyllis Wilson, and I'm honored to be the president of the Military Women's Memorial. Been there for a little over 5 years now, and this is just a way that we thought we could bring not just military women and women veterans together, but we can also expand that and bring our friends and family, those that supported us during the times we may have been serving in the military, or we've just built some friendships along the way. So again, while it is the Military Women's Memorial specific trip, it is not only for military women alone. So if you've got a spouse, a friend, your brother, your sister, whomever you want to bring, please know that they are absolutely welcome to join us. We're really looking forward to this in the summer of 2026. Of course, we're leading right up to America 250, the 250th anniversary of our great nation. But it also is just a couple of weeks, less than 2 weeks after D-Day. So it's a great time of year to be visiting from Paris to Normandy. And because this is a military women's memorial cruise, provided we book the entire boat, which I'm hoping we do, we want to have some special additional information, call outs, if you will, about military women, those that served in World War I, the Hello Girls that served in Paris and beyond. And then also, of course, for any of you that haven't yet seen the Netflix film, The 6888, you got to watch it. But those women served in Rouen, France, which is one of the stops. Jennifer will talk about a little bit more. So we want to talk a little bit about what these women did in World War I and II. And at the Normandy Cemetery, only 4 American women are buried there. 3 of those 4 women, which we hope to have the time to go and see their actual grave markers, but 3 of the 4 women buried at Normandy American Cemetery are Black women from the 6888 of World War II. So we want to take the time to pay tribute to the ladies on whose shoulders we now stand that gave us opportunities they could never have imagined. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it back to Jon and or Jennifer and let them talk a little bit about what we hope this experience will be. And again, we're just getting started with partnering with Jon and Uniworld. If this goes as well as I hope it does, we can look forward to future, maybe 1 or 2 every year with these kind of opportunities. So more to follow on that. Let's hope that we have a great turnout. Thanks so much.
Excellent. Thank you, Phyllis. We're very excited to be partnered with Military Women's Memorial. Brenco, which is our agency, has been working with associations since, oh my God, do I even dare say it? Since like in 1989. So a long time. We do specialize in military. So as I mentioned, when we're talking about this Paris and Normandy trip, although it's the first Uniworld trip that we're doing with military women, we've done this exact same cruise before. So we have a lot of experience going into this when we do it. So the first thing, as I mentioned, I want to talk about the booking procedures. And real quick, sorry, I'm one of those people who can't read. So we're at 63 people logged in already. I assume that number will continue to grow. But as I said, we only have 61 staterooms available on this cruise. So if you haven't seen it yet, we do have a website that we put together specifically for this cruise. And this slide right here, the next one, is the home page for this site. And when we send you this video this evening, we will include a link to this website. And so basically everything that Jennifer and I are going to talk about today is online. So for example, she's going to go through the itinerary. You'll see, the first tab is home, then it's pricing and accommodations. That's that third one over from the left is day-by-day itinerary. It literally goes through the day-by-day itinerary. Jennifer's going to talk about the inclusion. There's a page that has that there. There's all the terms and conditions. And then the one I wanted to talk about is that tab that says book now. And what we want to do is we want to set up a timestamp when people request something. So as I started to allude to this before, that there are 8 classic rooms still available. There's 9 on the ship, but one of those has already been taken. So there's 8 classic rooms. And then if you look at the deck plan, and if you go to the next slide, we can see the deck plan. So here it gives you the pricing for the 5 different categories. And then we don't see the whole website, but if you see at the bottom of this, you see the top deck, and then there's going to be 2 decks below that have staterooms in it. So going back to the classics, there's 8 classic rooms. So how do we determine if 10 people want a classic room, who gets it? Well, you fill out that book now form. So when it comes in, it has the date and the time that form was completed. And so the first 8 people that request a classic room will get that. You can look here, the deluxe French balconies, real quick, math says there's 14 of those. So same type of thing, to reiterate what I said at the beginning, we had over 330 people register for this webinar. I know there's only 60 some on it on the webinar right now, but we will send this video to this evening to all 330 people who registered. So what we ask you to do, as soon as you decide you want to go to that book now form. And if you go to the next slide, this is actually what the form is. And so if you click on that book now link, you just go in here, you put in your name, your date of birth. explains all this, but we want your full name that's on your passport because obviously you're going to be traveling abroad. We do have single rates. We are very happy to negotiate a reduced single supplement. The single supplement is 150%. So as it says here, if you're going as a single, just leave the second guest name blank. Then you put in your contact information, everything that we're going to need to share with Uniworld to process this booking, and send that form in. And then we will reach out to people in the order those come in to allow you to select the stateroom you want. The form does ask you to say which which cabin category you want. So if you want a balcony room, you just put in balcony. And then if you have a specific stateroom you want, write that number in or type that number in as well. And then when we call you back, we'll say, oh, you wanted, stateroom 316, 316 is available, get your deposit, and then you're locked in. So very kind of straightforward. But as I said, when we do some of these webinars where we have so many people sign up and there's just such a limited number of staterooms, we need to do something to make sure that we keep track of the order instead of, you call in and leave a message and then somebody else calls in and gets an agent. And even though you called first, they got an agent first. It's just more fair this way. So as I said, as soon as you decide you want to go, fill out the form. There is a comments kind of questions kind of thing at the bottom of the form. So if you have questions, just go ahead and type them in there. Someone will call you. You will talk to a live person before your booking is processed. We don't do credit cards over the internet, even though this is actually a secured website. Just so everyone feels safe, we'll actually contact you to get that credit card for the booking. So that's really kind of the nuts and bolts. I'm going to turn my camera off because and mute myself because I'm going to go on to Q&A. And as I said, I'm going to be answering questions while Jennifer's going through it. Most of the questions we'll revisit again at the end. So as I said, if you have questions, you can type them in now, but Jennifer and I will stay and answer all the questions that people have today. And so without any further ado, so excited that Jennifer's here and taking time out of her busy schedule to join us today. So Jennifer, tell us more about Uniworld.
Thank you so much, Jon and Miss Phyllis, for having me today. My name is Jennifer Hunter, and I'm so excited to be here with your group today to tell them about our fabulous Paris and Normandy itinerary that we offer through Uniworld. Like I said, it's just such an honor to be a part of this women's only group. I'm thankful for all that you do and everyone who serves. All right, to kick things off, I'm going to talk a little bit about river cruising, as I know this might be a new way of traveling for some. River cruising is an amazing way to see destinations all over the world, but particularly in Europe. And as I'll show you on a couple of slides, I'm a map girl, so we'll see where we are sailing in a minute. But traveling by river cruise is very easy. It's kind of that show up, unpack once, and then have someone glide you along the rivers to all of these beautiful destinations. And at Uniworld, we want you to be able to enjoy your vacation. So we take great care of our clients. We have small ships, so you're able to pull up right on the side of the river, oftentimes walking destination to some of the places that we're visiting. We'll go into that today. And I love, as compared to ocean cruising, river cruising isn't an ordeal, right? We're right there. There's few guests on board, so getting off and on is nice and easy. We break you into small groups when we're going and doing activities, and many times our crew will get to know you on board and start to learn some of your preferences. So with that, let's hear a little bit more about what makes Uniworld special as a river cruise. First and foremost, we are the most all-inclusive river cruise company at this time. We take pride in making sure that all of our guests have everything that we can think of for you to be able to come on board and enjoy your time with loved ones while you are enjoying your vacation away from home. I'll go over what's included in our cruise in the next slide. But moving onward, our service. Our staff is what makes traveling with Uniworld so special. Many of them have been with our company for years. I mean, I know some shipboard staff that's been with us for over 10 years. So they really take pride in serving our guests because that truly is at the core of our values here at Uniworld, is making sure that you as a guest are taken the best care of on board. As you can see from this image here, and we'll show you a little bit more about your ship you'll be sailing on for this itinerary, but we have one of a kind award-winning ships. I like to describe them as floating boutique hotels. So no two ship is alike. We really try to make our ships resemble the destination that you're traveling in. So you don't just feel like you're staying at a Marriott next door, but you actually feel like you're traveling in France or Italy or wherever we're going. In this case, it's France. Another thing I love about our cruises is we do farm to table cuisine. Many times I'll hear some guests seeing the the lead chef out on deck on the port that we land, going through fresh produce that we're bringing on board for the upcoming meals. And he'll say, yes, this is sufficient for my guests, or no, let's bring another batch of such and such and such. So we're always trying to make sure we have the freshest ingredients on board to be sure that we're serving local delicacies in addition to some fan favorites. But every evening you can expect a course meal from our fabulous chefs on board. As you'll see in our itinerary, we do a variety of excursions on board, most of which are included with us. So I'll be going over the details for our itinerary coming up, but it's nice because each day you can have a choice on excursion depending on your mood or activity level. We want to make sure that all guests are accommodated and able to enjoy the destination. With that, we'll go through what's included in our cruise fares. So as Jon showed you on a couple of slides before, the price that you see to participate in this Uniworld cruise includes everything that I will be going over today. We don't like hidden fees or add-on costs. So with that, we'll start with number one here. Everyone wants to know what beverages we can be enjoying on board. At Uniworld, we don't want you to think about having that second glass of wine, or if you like your lattes in the morning, or possibly an espresso martini at night. Everything is included from start to finish: beer, wine, premium spirits. We typically have a specialty cocktail each evening in the lounge, as these gentlemen are enjoying in the image. And I would also like to mention, Uniworld is proud to offer non-alcoholic spirits, beer, and wine as well. So for those that do not have alcohol as a part of their lifestyle, we still want you to be able to participate in the evening entertainment and have a little fancy non-alcoholic cocktail to enjoy your sailing. As I mentioned, our dining is absolutely fabulous. We have all of your meals are included. I'll go over the specifics on embarkation and debarkation days, but throughout your cruise, we will provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner. At breakfast time, we have a lovely fresh menu that you can order breakfast from in the morning, or if you're feeling a little sleepy in the morning and you just want to grab and go from a beautiful fresh buffet, we have that for our guests as well. Lunchtime is typically a lovely buffet as well. Everything, like I mentioned, is fresh farm to table food. You won't have anything that's ever been frozen on board Uniworld. And one of my favorite times at lunchtime is our cheese displays. So if you're into cheese, you'll have to scope that out for me. And then at dinner time, we have our course meals. So you can imagine yourself having it's like a 5-star menu every single night in our dining room. And we do have a sommelier on board who will wine pair each course for you if you so desire, or recommend anything else that you can enjoy with your meals. We do offer airport transfers for 2025 itineraries and 2026 itineraries. Those are offered through Uniworld for an additional surcharge depending on the distance to the airport. So that is one change for 2026, but we are happy to meet our guests at the airport should you decide to add those on. We love our staff on board Uniworld, and we don't want you to worry about passing on your thanks to them as well. So we include all of our gratuities on board for our staff members. We know they take such great care of you every single day, and we want to forward our appreciation to them as well without having you to have a bill at the end of your stay. All gratuities for all of our onboard staff is included for the entirety of your stay. All right, I can't wait to tell you guys about our excursions on our Paris to Normandy itinerary. Like I mentioned, we'll have some options to go through, and all of our included excursions, you'll have choices based on your activity level. All right, let's talk about staying connected to our loved ones at home. We do have Wi-Fi throughout the ship and available as we're cruising down the river throughout your entire itinerary. God forbid you have a work email that you need to answer, but we want to make sure you're available to those in need. And of course, it's included with our rates. Wellness. This is one of my favorite programs that we offer at Uniworld. We have a dedicated wellness director on board for our entire sailing. They're offering many times rooftop yoga, like the image here. They help our guests take out our bikes. We have complimentary bikes for rental that you can take out for the day on your own. Or if our wellness director isn't busy that day, I know when I've been on board, they've taken me on a private spin through wherever we're docked. It's an amazing program. So if you're looking to stay into wellness while on board Uniworld, we also have a choice of excursions. Like I mentioned, there is an option for a hike on this Paris to Normandy itinerary. So I'm excited to tell you about that. Each evening, we do bring on local entertainment as well. So as you're winding down from dinner, I can assure you you're going to have something to enjoy with the people that you're traveling with or possibly new friends you've met on board. We take pride in bringing on some of the best local entertainment to immerse you in the culture. And as you'll see when we're traveling along, we like to have some fun too. So you'll have in your cruise documents, we typically have one night that's a party theme night. So sometimes it'll be a silent disco or a 70s night. I know for 2025, we're doing a whiteout party. So we like to have fun and get you immersed in your destinations even more while you're on board. All right, butlers. We include butler service in every one of our suite categories. So I will be pointing those out to you as we go over our options for staying on board. But having a personal assistant while you're traveling is very nice, whether you need help unpacking or ironing your clothes. Anything that you can think of, our butlers will be there to make sure that you are every wish that you can think of is taken care of above and beyond our standard care on board. One of my favorite things that the butlers will do is if you have a favorite cocktail or if you would like a latte in the morning at a particular time, those sort of things, they will be happy to accommodate requests and make your trip extra special. We'll go over our suites in more detail, like I mentioned, but every single suite on board of our Uniworld ships are designed to feel luxurious. We want you to enjoy, although we're not in our staterooms that often, we want you to feel comfortable and well taken care of. In our bathrooms, we have heated floors, heated towel warmers. We locally source fine toiletries for you on board. And one thing that makes travel extremely convenient is that all of our electrical plugs can accommodate electronics from the United States. So you don't have to worry about bringing an adapter or a converter, or God forbid, having a blow dryer or a curling iron incident on board. We make sure that you are taken care of in your staterooms so that you can feel refreshed and ready to enjoy your destination. All right, the moment we've been waiting for. Let's dive into Paris and Normandy. Excuse me. Like we mentioned, this cruise is 8 days. You'll be staying 7 nights on board of our lovely Uniworld Joie de Vivre ship, which I will show you in a coming slide. We include 19 meals, all your breakfast, lunch, and dinner while you're on board, over 16 excursions, and on this particular itinerary, we visit 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, which of course, while you're in France, it's definitely something to see. So let's dive in. Here is a little overview on our day by day for you all. We're going in the middle of summertime. The weather is going to be lovely for you to start your journey in Paris. So how does this work? All of our guests will find their way to Paris. Charles de Gaulle Airport is the main international airport in Paris. If you need a travel professional, they definitely can help you coordinate your airfare to come into Paris. And then as you can see, we cruise up northward. This is the top part of France. It's a very unique section of the river that we sail. And at the tippy top, we will take you over to the beaches in Normandy and a couple of unique excursions on the northern tip of France and some beautiful cities that I will mention when we get there. So like I mentioned, day one, you all will arrive in lovely Paris. This is typically an overnight flight from the United States to arrive in Paris. It's usually mid-morning, so guests will typically get over to the ship. If your stateroom's not available at the time that you arrive, we'll hold your luggage for you so that you're able to enjoy the common areas on board. Or if you're feeling adventurous, you can go out and explore Paris on your own. I know that when I went with my family, we were docked almost exactly where this photo was taken. So I could just get off the ship and immediately you're right where there's shops, cafes, and just the spirit of Paris, just a couple of steps from the ship. We want to make it really convenient for your arrival day, so we don't have, we typically, everyone's like, well, when's the welcome dinner? We're going to do your welcome dinner on night 2, just to give you the day to settle in on day 1 and get acquainted with the ship. Usually we do a welcome ceremony up on top of the deck. You can see the Eiffel Tower and Paris sparkle. It's a great way to start your journey with us from Paris. Day 2. I was debating if I was going to say this is my favorite day because how can it already be just on day 2? But I love this day as we explore the French countryside up in northern France. So we'll do a little bit of scenic cruising, and then you have a couple of options for your excursions on day 2. Number 1, Chateau de la Roche is beautiful. The gardens around this chateau are definitely a point to be seen. You really get the taste of countryside in France that has inspired so many artists and history throughout times in this region of France. So like I mentioned, you can see at the bottom of my slide here, we always want to offer you some choices. So this is the day that you have an option to go hiking. You can take a hike through the countryside where you end up at Monet's chalet, for those of you that are familiar with his famous paintings. And once you enter these gardens today, you'll see just where the inspiration has come from for some of his beautiful paintings. We also have a bike ride option today. And if you're not feeling active or wanting to get out in the countryside, as this is one of the best days, I think, to be out in nature, you can always take a bus in and join the group for the tour at the chateau. All right, day 3. Rouen, this is one of my favorite cities that we visit on this itinerary because you get a great perspective on the history of this region. You have a few ways that you can explore it today. But one of my favorite things is we do a walking tour. So you're with a local expert divided into small groups. So as you can see from this image, you can just picture yourself walking through this medieval town and hearing the history of the people that have walked here before. I mean, Joan of Arc, Claude Monet was oftentimes seen painting on the streetways here as well. But you really get, today is the day of architecture, culture, and history, a really great overview of what life is like in some of these smaller towns outside of course, the big epicenter of Paris. Moving onward, this is a beautiful day as well. I chose to visit Honfleur on this day. You have 2 options as we are exploring the northern tip of France. Cattenbach and Caux. This is a unique section of France, and you have 2 options today. You can take a walking tour of the beautiful city of Honfleur. I loved this day because there's lots of little tiny, little alleyways that you're walking through the town. You burst out into this beautiful marina of different colored sailboats. And when I was there, I saw multiple artists. I think it was a school was having an art class and everyone was painting this beautiful marina. But this is a great day to find some unique gifts that you can take home from some shops from the northern region of France. And just a nice, easy breezy day walking through a cute town on the northern end of France. Otherwise, if you see this lovely image on the left, you have a secondary option if you're into golf. We do take a group to go golf at this stunning golf course that's world renowned for this part this part of Europe. So that's a great opportunity if you want to get in a little fitness as well and go hit some golf balls on this famous golf course. It's really a great time to check out these cliffs as well and interact. All right, day 5. This is our very special day. I know for everyone on this chat, this might be a highlight as well. I love the introduction Miss Phyllis gave to some of these brave women and soldiers that have been buried up here at the memorial in Normandy. This is a very special day on day 5. We're docking you in Rouen, and we have a full day trip to take you out to the beaches of Normandy. We have nice premium coaches that will take the groups on a beautiful drive. Again, you're in the countryside of France. We make the journey very comfortable for you. Nice plush seats. We've got charging blocks for you, water on board. And when we arrive up here in Normandy, you are greeted by the best experts on World War II history. You get divided into small groups. When I went with my family, it was amazing because it was just our family of 8, and our tour guide was a PhD student on World War II history. So as you can imagine, when you're walking through the beaches here and just hearing the stories of the soldiers that not only arrived, but were awaiting on this very historical day, hearing it from an expert that knows all the ins and outs of the history on both sides, it just really paints a picture for what happened here at the beaches of Normandy. It's a very emotional day, very beautiful as well. Just seeing the statues and monuments that we have for all of the brave men and women that have served our country and others. It's a wonderful day. After you take your tours of the beaches, we do take you up to the cemetery that just overlooks the water. We've got the white marble headstones up there at the cemetery. It's just a beautiful experience. And depending on your heritage, we have a few different options of tour guides that can help you, if you're from Canada or the United States, we can modify our history lesson accordingly for you up there. And we do take a special moment to do a ceremony for the men and women that have lost their lives here in Normandy. So I'm already getting choked up a little bit. This is just a very memorable day. Even for those that didn't have anybody here at this particular moment in these battles, but it's definitely a great day, and Uniworld does a wonderful job with the history and the overall experience for our group. So I hope you all get to make it here. It's very special. All right, moving onward, if you can imagine my map from the first part of my presentation, we have now turned around and we're heading back south down the Seine River. And day 6, this is an amazing day because we visit the Palace of Versailles. And for those of you that haven't visited a palace before, it's very ornate, the decor, and just the amount of gold and chandeliers that some of these palaces have. It's beautiful. And with Uniworld, we're always striving to give you our VIP tours. So you won't wait in any lines. We take you straight to the front of the line. And something that's extremely special about this visit is we get to actually take a look into some of the apartments within the Palace of Versailles. This is a special access opportunity for our group where you get to learn about the people that lived in these rooms and the influence that they had on the region in France in the time of their ruling. Of course, I love hearing the stories of all the women that have lived and served and spent time at the Palace of Versailles, because although sometimes they weren't noted as often in history, hearing their influences on how they were a part of history and imagining their lives in this palace it's really a cool day and a beautiful place to see. So I'm excited for you guys to be able to visit Versailles while you're in the area. All right, I bet you all were wondering when we would get to tour Paris. We actually have that on the back end for the group. Although you might get some individual exploration on the front end, we do include our official program for Paris on the back end for you. So of course, we're going to take you into this iconic city, and you have two main options today of what you'd like to do for your tour. If you haven't been before, I highly recommend our walking tour, because that's going to hit all of the icons in the city that possibly you haven't seen before, give you photo opportunities, and to hear about just what makes the city so popular and vibrant, and why people come to visit Paris. Our second option, this one's for if maybe you've been before or you want a more intimate experience. We'll have a local tour guide from Paris take you through the Latin Quarter of the city, which is often, I don't want to say missed by people that visit Paris, but it's where you get a look into the local life of Parisians. And I think that that's really interesting because you'll walk by or possibly step into or take time to visit local restaurants or different displays of artwork. It's a very culture rich side of the city rather than all of the major icons on the other side. That's probably a great way to put it. So definitely a deeper dive into the culture on this day. I would recommend the Latin Quarter tour for guests today. But who doesn't love Paris? It's a wonderful city to visit. And with that, we will have our farewell dinner this evening for all of our guests on board. Hoping that you've enjoyed this. I really think that this itinerary is a wonderful summary and great overview of not only, of course, the icon of Paris, the very meaningful beaches in Normandy, but the art, the history, and the culture of Northern France as well. You really get a great mix with us on these 7 days. So it's always sad to say goodbye, but we have a wonderful dinner. The captain will come bid you farewell. And then, of course, our staff will help you coordinate for disembarkation day, which will be on day 8. We will have brought you round trip back into Paris. And depending on what time your flight is leaving, our wonderful staff on board will let you know what time you need to have your bags ready and get ready to head to the airport. We give you plenty of time to get there and get your bags checked and everything, making it really a seamless day for you to head home or transfer you onward to your journey if you decide to extend your travels on your own. All right, so I hope you enjoyed hearing about our day-by-day itinerary from Paris to Normandy. Here's a great summary slide on what our Uniworld staff will do to make your itinerary extra special. And from there, oh, well, I just have to mention, number one, our staff to guest ratio is some of the best in the industry. I have to put it as number one because as I've talked about this itinerary with all of the logistics between our tour groups, the food, the wine team, everybody's just making sure that you can show up and have a seamless vacation and get to enjoy this part of France. So with that, I have just a short video here. It's about a minute, just to give you a little imagery on what it's like to be on board a Uniworld ship. So with that, here we go.
Welcome.
we're all not hungry after that video, we're definitely probably ready to get on board. So I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into the ship that you all will be sailing on for this special group itinerary. And if you remembered when Mr. Jon was giving you the instructions on how to claim your spot on board, this is really going to give you some ideas on the different types of staterooms, so that when you choose your selection, you know you'll be getting your favorite pick. All right, so like I mentioned, on this itinerary, we have our specials ship, the SS Joie de Vivre. And the thing that I love about this ship, as you can see, is it resembles France. That is one characteristic about Uniworld, is when we create a ship, for example, the Joie de Vivre, she was birthed in this region of France to resemble this region of France. So you're going to eat, drink, sleep, rest, and wake up like you're in France every single day. As you can see from these images, we have multiple places for you to spend time with loved ones while you're on board, meet new friends. And it's really a beautiful way to be sailing down the Seine and getting personally delivered to each of those destinations that you'll be visiting on your itinerary. So with that, I'm going to start with our highest room category, and we'll kind of go downwards from there. We do have a couple of grand suites available on the Joie de Vivre. As you can see from this image, they are lavishly appointed. Each one is unique in its own. They have of course, our wonderful butler service is included for anyone staying in our suites. But you have a large living area that's usually appointed with a couch, possibly a couple of sitting chairs. If you can imagine, over here on our left is floor to ceiling windows that are able to open up to a French balcony, and then leading into the bedroom, we just have some of the highest quality of linens, pillows, and mattresses. We don't want any guests to be tired when you're waking up the next morning for your excursions. And we really want you to feel like you are traveling in style and luxury on board of a Uniworld ship. So our grand suite is going to be our largest accommodations available on this ship and for this sailing. Of course, our bathroom as well is quite large. There are additional images on our website of the suites as well, but all of our bathrooms have white marble. Like I mentioned, all the floors are heated, and it's just a very lovely suite for you to enjoy as we sail along. One step down from our grand suite are our traditional suites. They're no less stunning or luxurious. I just like to describe them as just a little bit less square footage in there, but as you can see, you still do have a nice couch to be able to read a book, enjoy a glass of wine or a cup of coffee, unwinding from the day. And if you can imagine, in this suite to our right is where the full floor to ceiling windows with that French balcony that opens up for you to be able to enjoy as we're cruising along or in between excursions as you're freshening up. Large closet space, of course, in the suite and the grand suite. And then, of course, our marbled bathrooms as well. This cabin category, the suite does come with our amazing butler service as well. They'll fill those closets for you and make sure all of your outfits are ready to go for the next day's adventure. One thing I love about our staterooms as well is our beds are elevated, not only to give you great views as you're looking out over the French balcony, but as you can see, this room is nice and tidy. So if you need to store any extra belongings underneath your bed that possibly don't fit in the closet space, we do think ahead about that for everyone traveling with us on board. All right, this is one of our most popular room categories is our deluxe French balcony. We do have a whole level of the ship dedicated to this room category, as it is a preferred location on the ship, and it does include those French balcony floor to ceiling windows outside on this wall to our left. Spacious interior for our deluxe French balcony. cabin category as well. You do have 2 closets over here to our right that you're able to hang up your clothing. And then the bathroom is just around the corner, depending on which number and how we arranged our plumbing for you. You have a bathroom either to your right or your left in these staterooms. I loved sitting at this desk. You can imagine on the TV, we have our itinerary that's up and coming for you, or any important announcements, special events coming up for the next day, projected on the TV for you that you possibly want to enjoy while you're winding down as well. But really a great, as you can see, it's not a standard hotel room. We really want to make you feel welcomed on board, even as we go into our other cabin categories here. Our French balcony stateroom is almost identical to our deluxe French balcony, other than the location. As I mentioned, our deluxe French balcony staterooms are in a preferred deck level. So if you're not particular on where your stateroom is located on board, possibly you want to opt for a French balcony. This does have, like I keep mentioning, the floor to ceiling windows. We include them in our stateroom so that you can enjoy views like this. You can see the Eiffel Tower outside of this particular window here, but those windows do go all the way open for our guests to enjoy the fresh air as we're sailing along. And as you can imagine, these French balcony rooms lie not right at water level, but you're more eye level with what we're passing by on the river. So if you want a little bit of an elevated view from your room as we're cruising along, that's when I would recommend selecting the deluxe French balcony, because you get a little bit of that elevation that lets you see out more above the shoreline when we're passing points of interest as we sail along. But still so nice to be able to open up the windows, and, you know, even when you're getting ready, if you need some fresh air, it's lovely. All right, as Jon mentioned, we just have a select handful of classic cabins left. We do describe these at water level. This is our lowest cabin category offered on our Uniworld ship, as it is on the lowest deck. And as you can see, our windows up here, I think they're fun because a lot of times as you're traveling by river, you'll have geese that are swimming by. So out of the corner of your eye, you'll see a little white or black blur go by, but you are at the water level. You still can see out, and I like because natural light can still come into your stateroom. But this will be a great example of our classic cabin on board. And I love this image shows our elevated beds. So that bottom layer is where you can kind of tuck suitcases or, you know, extra jackets or things that you brought just in case, if you're a just in case packer. But of course, even our classic staterooms do have our lovely appointed bathrooms and closet space, of course, for all of your clothes and belongings as well. And speaking of staterooms, I forgot to mention, but we do provide hair dryers on board. That's a question I get offered a lot in all of our staterooms. All right. I think that gives our group a well overview of where we'll be going on this itinerary, and also your options of staterooms to be able to sail with us on board Uniworld. And like we've said through this entire presentation, I know our staff is so excited to welcome your group on board, especially with this very meaningful itinerary up in northern France to Normandy. So thank you so much for having me, and I will pass the mic back over to Jon to add any notes, and then we'll hop into our FAQ session.
There you go. Yeah, we had a lot of questions, which is great. And so we're going to get to those in just a second. A couple of things I wanted to touch on before we get into the Q&A is obviously we understand the issue with solo travel. I mentioned that we have the 150% reduced single supplement. For those who are not, have not cruised a lot, typically the single supplement is 200%. I know 150% is still a lot. You know, it's extra thousands of dollars out of your pocket. One of the things that we have done and have done very successfully is what we call a single share kind of program. And that's going to be where if you're looking for someone to travel with, What we do is we'll have a number of people in that same kind of situation, and then we just kind of put you in contact with each other, and you can talk on the phone or text or email, however you want to communicate with the other person. The hope being that you'll meet someone that you're willing to share a room with, and then both of you save thousands of dollars. As I mentioned, we've done this in the past with great success. One of the things that you learn in this business, if you're a solo traveler, it is not a one-time situation. You know, every time you want to do something, it's the same type of thing. So when we first started doing this groups, we actually paired up a couple of women, in cabins together. The first time we did Paris and Normandy was in 2019. To talk specifically about this itinerary. So with Uniworld 2019, it was the 75th anniversary. We did a couple of groups on that, and we actually have women who cruise together on that, who continue to cruise together to this day. So we're 5, 6 years down the road, because as I said, if you're a solo traveler and you travel with someone and you are, you get along and you enjoy traveling with them, that ends up being somebody that, you're on this cruise and you're talking and you go, I'd really like to do the Douro River or whatever it may be. And then you have somebody to travel with going forward. So if you're interested in that, just put a note in the comments, or when we call you to get your credit card, just let us know. There was one other thing I was going to mention at the beginning, and that's the June 14th date that we have for this cruise. This past summer, we did do June 2nd and June 9th are the two sailings we did with Uniworld in 2024 for a different association. But what we found was it's the first year that we were actually in Normandy the week of the D-Day landings. And it was so crowded, so congested, that we decided we would not do that again. Yes, there is that added panache of being there, a couple of days before or a day after or whatever that the landings were. But the construction that was going on for the bleachers and everything, the crowds and everything, and I'm sorry, we had a lot of questions, so I may have missed this if Jennifer said it, but one of the things that we have when we do that day when we go to Normandy is we actually have 5 stops. So it's not that we go to Rouen and we stop and we only see one thing. So there's 5 different things that we want to see. One, of course, is the National Cemetery. We go to Utah Beach, we go to Omaha Beach. There's a lot that's involved with that. And so what we actually had happen was the week that we went last year, which was the June 2nd to the June 9th sailing, we were only able to do 4 of our 5 events. And even with that, our 11-hour day ended up being 14 hours. So even though we couldn't even do all 5 of our stops, we actually missed Omaha Beach. But even with that, it was that much longer, and kind of, we walked away from that saying, yeah, it would be great to be there, a couple of days before or after the actual landing, but it's a better experience for you if we go June 14th, because I can tell you, having done them back to back, I was on the June 2nd sailing, the June 9th sailing. It was night and day, only being a week later. So with that being said, we have like close to 30 questions. So a couple of these, I'm going to keep going through them. A lot of these I answer, but I just want to go back through and touch on a couple of these. Let me see. A lot of people said they had to go.
Yeah, and I'll just clarify on the date while you take a peek at that, John. June 14th is the day, it's day 1 of your itinerary. It's embarkation day.
Yeah.
So you will be departing the United States the day before to fly overnight and arrive in Paris on the 14th. Just to be clear, so we don't have any confusion on when your vacation time starts. Though sometimes you can catch an after work flight if you need to. I don't remember what day of the week the 13th is, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the first one I wanted to address that I already answered, but just I think everybody would be kind of interested in, is somebody asked if flights are included. Flights are not. They're going to vary, obviously, from where you fly to. Some people want to go in early. Some people want to stay late. Air schedules are probably typically released about 11 months prior to departure. So around July, maybe early August of this summer is when you'll first see airlines releasing their flight schedules and their pricing to go to Paris in 2026. So let me see. There was another one I wanted to talk
John,
about.
if
Oh,
I can jump in on
yeah.
this one too, I saw some of the questions, and it is family and friends are welcome.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Men or women, absolutely welcome. If you want to bring your brother, your husband, your dad, it doesn't matter. Bring them, bring them. They're going to love this too. I mean, look at the places we're going to. Now, there was a question about, is there an age restriction as far as like bringing children?
Mhm.
So would love for you to help answer that. And
Yeah,
again,
that's actually the next question.
yeah,
Perfect timing. That's the
perfect.
next one I was going to address with Jennifer is so um what is the age
Okay,
limit,
yeah.
Jennifer, on your ships?
Yeah, so Uniworld in general does allow children on board. I would say it's rare on our standard sailings, but more common in a group setting like this when we're getting families together with special interests. And we do allow children ages 4 and up
4 and up.
on
Okay.
our cruises.
Yeah.
Yes.
The person who
They're
asked about 17 and 11. I can say, having done these groups before, people bring kids along.
Yep.
There are 5 triple occupancy suites on the ship. So not a lot of space for that. But if, obviously, if you're bringing one child, then you can do double occupancy. But if you wanted to bring 3 people, there's just the 1 grand suite and the 4 suites, and they're actually highlighted on it. It's kind of tough to see, but you'll see a little red asterisk on those 5 staterooms. It's also listed on the booking form, the 5 suites that have that available. So yeah, but I was going to say, people have brought kids before. I mean, it is of all the cruises we do, and we do a lot of them during the course of the year, this is such a meaningful itinerary for what you're going to see, particularly that day at Normandy, and then of course Phyllis talked about um, doing something in Rouen as well, going to that monument and everything. So having done this, I can tell you I got as many chills the second week I went as the first week when you go to these things. When you're doing that, we'll have a private memorial service on Omaha Beach just for our group. We'll have a bugler there who's going to play taps. We'll have somebody there who's going to talk about their personal experiences with it. I mean, we're at the point now, it's typically someone who talks about the story that they heard from their parents or their uncle or something like that. And then we do a flower ceremony there at Omaha Beach. It's just such meaningful, such history. And the other thing, just since I'm kind of on a rant here, I could talk about this forever. But the French people, and I know they get a bad rap sometimes, and I think that's more Paris than the country, but the friendliness, the welcomingness, the appreciation that the people in that part of France have, particularly at that time of year, is overwhelming. The number of houses you see that are flying US flags and everything, it is just an experience that everyone should do, and it is a fantastic opportunity to share it with your kids or your grandkids, whatever that case may be. I'm going to come back to the deposit policy in just a second, because I had one that I wanted to jump ahead to. Somebody asked about a refrigerator in their stateroom, Jennifer, because they have medical supplies that needs to be kept cool. And I'm in the same situation. I have like a portable cooler, that you can use, which is kind of a pain. The suites have refrigerators. What do you do for someone who's not in a suite who has this situation? I'm sure you guys have had it come up a number of times.
Yes, definitely. If you need medications refrigerated, we are happy to take care of that for you on board. We don't want that at all to be a reason for you to have any worry while you're on board with us. Our staff will store it in a secure space for you, and you can have access to it as needed throughout your cruise if you don't have one in your stateroom.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other thing, just when she talks about that, and I'm going to kind of jump back a little bit, but if you've been on an ocean cruise before and you haven't been on a river cruise is more like a floating hotel than a cruise, because the ship docks city center and you can walk on and off whenever you want unless the ship is sailing. And on this particular itinerary, there are not a lot of long sail days. And so basically, if you get up in the morning, you can get out, you can take a bike ride. They have bikes you can use, walking sticks, whatever you want. You can get back on, have breakfast, do your shore excursion, you get back on for lunch, and then typically they will not start sailing until dinner, and it works out great depending on how far you're going, because then you have scenery out the window while you're sailing down the Seine. A lot of these ports, it's going to dock, and if the ship's docked, you can get off. So whether it docks at 9 p.m. or midnight or whenever it is, your floating hotel is always there for you to get on and off. The reason I bring that up when we talk about this is they do have a reception desk like a hotel. So if they have your medications, there's almost always somebody there. I will tell you, occasionally in the middle of the night, if you go to the reception desk, there may be a note up that says they're doing rounds. They'll be back in 10, 15 minutes. But you know, you can get on and off whenever you want, unless the ship's sailing, and there is always someone around. I will be on board this sailing. I've done this ship before. I've done this itinerary before. I am there for one purpose, to make sure you have as much fun as possible. Everyone will have my cell number. You'll have it in advance of the cruise. So if you have any issues with your flights, your luggage, or anything like that, I will be in Paris to assist with that, to make sure everybody gets on board and your luggage gets on board with you. And then anything comes up, you know, in the middle of the night. I had that happen twice this summer on the Paris and Normandy's. You have my cell number, just give me a call. And so, but there's always someone available. Okay. So before we get the rest of the questions, we have 11 I haven't even read yet, but somebody asked about the deposit policy, and this comes up from time to time, and just want to make sure everyone understands what we're doing here. So we have held the entire ship. So when you look at the ship and you see there's 64 staterooms, we basically went to Uniworld and we blocked the entire ship. When you do that, they pull that out of inventory. So if you go to Uniworld website right now and you look up Paris and Normandy for June 14th, you'll see the sailing before and the sailing after. Our sailing says sold out because we're holding every cap. So when we do that, we have unique deposit and final payment kind of things, because what we don't want to happen is the industry kind of normal, and this is more so for oceans and rivers, but they're similar. But what you hear from the ocean industry is they typically sell a cabin on average 3 times before it actually sails. What we can't have happen is, you know, we see people that do this. You go in and you block it, non-refundable deposit, and then you decide at final payment whether or not you want to go. Well, if we sell out the ship and other MWM members want to go and the ship's sold out, they make other plans, and we can't be in a situation where a bunch of people just cancel. So under these scenarios where we hold the whole ship and these types of things, and the other thing I'll say is we're one travel agency selling this. If you book a different date, because you can book Paris and Normandy through us or through Uniworld Direct or through another travel agency and do Paris and Normandy on another date. If you do that and you book it and then you cancel, they have 30,000 travel agencies out there selling that ship. We don't have that ability to resell it. So when we do these full ship charters with Uniworld, the deposit's non-refundable, as is the final payment. So what we tell people, we recommend everybody gets travel insurance. And so if you're going and some reason you can't go, medical, injury, accident, death of you or an immediate family member or somebody you're traveling with are the reasons for cancellation under most insurance. Don't book until you're sure you're going to go. I mean, and look, I've been a travel agency I've worked with a travel agency for 40 years now. And there are people that just book and then decide at deposit whether or not they want to go. It doesn't work in scenarios like this, where military women have the entire ship, which allows them to do unique events both on board and off the ship. Okay, just signed up, booked, signed in late. Somebody asked about beds. Easy enough. The beds are convertible. So when you book, you let us know, and then when you show up at your room, you either have 2 singles or 1 queen. Is that how it converts?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can kind of see that in, let's see if I can go back at the bottom of this bed here. That would be of the approximate size on if we split that bed
Gotcha.
into 2 with a gap in between. But otherwise it's converted into 1 bed for
Gotcha.
those that would like to share one with their partner.
I just noticed that Phyllis answered a couple questions. One she already addressed. Military Women Memorial can bring anybody with them they want. Membership is not required to go on this trip. Pre-Paris options, Uniworld does not have those out yet. We may put some together separate from Uniworld, but I can tell you that what Uniworld did in 2024 is they had a 2-night pre-package in Paris where you'd fly in, they'd transfer you from the airport to the hotel. You'd spend 2 nights in the hotel. It a half-day city tour, and then they took you to the ship at the end of those 2 days. That was the only pre that Uniworld offered. They do not come out with their pre packages until about 12 months prior to departure. But we can assist with that. We are a full service travel agency. A lot of people, particularly retirees who have more time, if they're going to fly all the way over to Europe, which is going to be a couple thousand, for coach, much more than that if you want business or whatever, will extend. In fact, do this in another week. So they want more than just 1 or 2 pre-night, maybe go back to places that they served and those types of things. And absolutely, this is your vacation. We'll do anything we can to help you kind of customize it. All right. 15 more questions.
And I'll pop
I think
in
we
real
just,
quick, John.
yeah.
I want to say from Uniworld standpoint, working with team at Brenco, they are phenomenal. They're like your personal assistant to help with the logistics to get you and do the baton handoff to our Uniworld team. So you're in great hands with John. And like he said, doing anything before or after and with your airfare, such great support. So we're so thankful.
Thank you. I should pay you every compliment you give me. Okay, somebody asked what the size. Somebody asked what the size of the beds are, and do some statements have twin beds? I think we answered that. As far as attire requirements, I want to go through this real quick because it's something that comes up a lot. During the day, it's going to be June in Paris, so typically the weather's really nice. The whole thing everybody says is, dress comfortable, bring a jacket or whatever. The buses are secure. So, you get up in the morning and it's cool and you're going to be gone for the morning. Typically, the excursions are going to be morning or afternoon. But you can bring a light jacket if you want in case it cools down or something like that. If you don't need it, you can leave it in the stateroom. On board the ship, this is going to be the military women's cruise, so we pretty much can do whatever we want with attire. They do have one night, which is the captain's reception, where they kind of ask people to dress up a little bit more. No requirement. My belief on this is you're on vacation, be comfortable. I mean, they have ridiculous things they say, like no shorts, in the dining room. If you were adamant you wanted to wear them, I'm going to be on board. I'll let you know you can wear whatever you want to dinner, as long as you don't mind if everybody else is a little dressed up. But absolutely, I mean, maybe a sports coat, and that's more so just because it's kind of cool in the evening, particularly on the ship. The air conditioning works on this ship. So you may want to bring a jacket or a sweater or something like that, but you don't need to tux. You don't need sweeping ground. You don't need a tie unless you want to wear a tie. I will pretty much wear a sports coat every single night, but I'm there working. So you're on vacation, do whatever you'd like. 150% is a good deal. You're not kidding. Age restrictions we talked about. Attire we just talked about. One other thing, just so you know how this is going to work, everybody's going to book now and we're available. What we always do at Brenco before this is about 30 days prior to departing on the cruise, we'll do a webinar like this, but it will be more of a meeting where everyone can talk kind of thing. And we'll kind of do an overview of what to expect. And then, we'll talk weather, we'll talk attire, we'll talk all of these different things. By that point, everyone will have their cruise documents, which you can look through. Sometimes those raise questions. And so we just do this as an opportunity for all of us to get together that are going on this cruise together and kind of answer all these kind of things that are going to come up right before you leave, like attire and weather and those types of things. I thought this was adults only. Nope. This is everyone's vacation, so everyone can bring whomever they want. As I said, we typically get not a lot. The last Uniworld cruise I did was Danube Holiday Markets. There was one girl on it, was 16. I think we had an 18-year-old on one of the Paris and Normandy's I did last year. I could go through all of the sailings, but when we have kids, for those who are thinking of bringing kids, there will be very few on board. In fact, your kids may be the only kids on board. How much is the excursion to the golf course? Okay, that's 2016. It's anonymous, so I don't know how to reach out to you. I can look up to see what it was this past summer. But it's probably easy. I mean, do you know what it is this year, Jennifer, for the golf on this?
They haven't published it yet, but I can get last year's number in just a second for you.
Okay. One thing I want to say, and it's on the pricing page, but we probably don't make a big enough deal about this, is when you go to book this, you'll see that the discounts that we have on this start at $860 a person, based upon what Uniworld is selling this cruise on other dates. Obviously, if you go to this exact date, it doesn't list pricing because it shows the ship is sold out. But you can look at the sailing the week before, the sailing the week after, and see what their prices are. In addition to that, we have a 100 euro onboard credit. The reason we do it in euros is because everything on the ship is in your euros. So pretty much everything's included. It's easier to talk about what's not included. They do have laundry service in the suites. There's a fee for that. That's where, they have self-service laundry, but if you want somebody to press something or dry clean it or something like that, they do have, not really, I don't want to say a spa on board, but they do have a masseuse on board. That would be additional. They have what they call ultra premium liquors. I always say the example would be, you can get Jim Beam black or red if you want, or excuse me, Johnny Walker black or red. If you want Johnny Walker blue, they do have that for an additional cost. And then they have some excursions like the golf excursion, which they call a masterpiece collection, which is additional fee. Jennifer, you look like you have an answer.
Yep, I'm ready for you. So on this particular itinerary, we do offer golf excursions on other itineraries, but this is one that is included with the price that you're paying. It says club entrance and the use of golf clubs are provided during your excursion. So if you need any other gear for your particular golf style, that would be on your own. But this is something where spaces are limited. Most every other excursion that I talked about, we don't have limitations other than the number of bikes. But this is one where the group will be limited. So if you are interested in doing the golf package, you definitely want to make that known to Jon and keep an ear out for signups for that excursion.
Excellent.
But that's the day where you have, the choice between golfing or going to Honfleur, the little marina that I mentioned. I saw artists painting all the sailboats. So that's your choice day there. We did like a ladies and a gentleman split day that day. So yeah.
Okay.
But we'll take care of it.
So what I was going to say is, for those masterpiece excursions that have an expense, everybody has a 100 euro per person onboard credit. That is an exclusive Military Women's Memorial benefit. It would apply to anybody who's on this sailing, but in addition to that dollars off, if you were to book a different sailing on Uniworld, you wouldn't have that 100 euro onboard credit. Somebody asked what that kind of exchange rate is. I think right now, it's like 104 US to 100 euro. So 100 euro is going to be about 100 per person. Of course, I'm not going to speculate on what the exchange rate is going to be in 18 months from now, but it is 100 euro and you can use it on the excursions if that's something you'd like to do on board. Paris Airport, better to use Charles de Gaulle. I think Orly is closer to the ship, but I think when you start checking flights, unless you're already in Europe, most US flights are going to fly into de Gaulle. If you're going over to Europe early, you may end up at Orly because inner Europe is really the most flights that go into Orly. It's actually closer to the ship. So, and people have asked about the train station as well. The train station is the main train station. If you're getting off, at the downtown train station, is not that far either. Okay. Website, please. Deborah, I posted it a couple of times. As soon as we're done here, the IT team is going to download this video. You actually have to download it from Zoom. They edit it, which is basically just cutting out the beginning, and then they have to upload it to YouTube. It's going to take an hour and a half to do that because download and upload times. But when we send out to everyone who signed up for this webinar, a copy of the link to the webinar to watch it again or share it, we will include the web address. But before I go, I'll just conclude that real quick. I'll ask a question. thought the itinerary would be more
And I
military
have
centric.
one note, John. I
Yeah,
just
of
want to
course.
make clear to all of our guests, all the excursions that I spoke about today in my presentation are included in the rate at no additional charge. John mentioned we have a couple of masterpiece excursions offered on this itinerary for an additional charge, but everything that I spoke about today is included with the rate.
Got you. Yeah, and in a lot of cases, if you purchase a masterpiece collection excursion, you're going to miss one of the complimentary excursions. But I think if I remember correctly, most of them are in Paris. It's sort of like a sidecar kind of motorcycle tour of the city and going to the Moulin
Yeah,
Rouge and stuff like that. So
yeah, and we typically have, we don't typically run out of space on those, but all of the generic excursions, like I said, except for the golf on this itinerary, you'll want to just have your ear out for the sign up for that. But our cruise director every single night will welcome you to the next destination and let you know about the activities that are an option for tomorrow, and or if there's, one of these masterpiece options for you, or of course, your travel advisor at Renco can help you navigate those as well, but they're not available for sign up yet for 2026.
yeah, they don't have like
They don't have the
everything,
program set yet.
the pricing that you look at for 2025, it'll probably go up a little bit in 2026. We pretty much see around 10% price increase year over year. Somebody said they thought the itinerary would be more military centric. Keep in mind that what Jennifer just went through is the standard Uniworld itinerary. We are customizing it. So we'll have our own welcome reception, our own farewell reception. One of the things that I mean, I could go through all of the things that we already have scheduled to add, but we will make it more military centric. Phyllis talked about, in Rouen, going to see that memorial. We do our own private memorial service on board the ship. That's where everybody's up on deck. Someone will speak, we'll play taps, have a moment of silence, and then everyone's given a rose to promote, to throw into Seine River. Something else that we've done was a huge hit is we actually show Save It Private Ryan the night before we go to the beaches. And so, I can literally tell you how we do this, and I get chills everything I talk about. The first thing we do is we do kind of like a open forum that I'll moderate, and anyone who has a personal connection to the landings is given an opportunity to share that. So it becomes a very personal event. After which we show Save It Private Ryan. It's a 3-hour movie, and it's an 11-hour day at Paris and Normandy. So we literally upfront tell people, at the very least, if you can, watch that opening 30, 35 minutes. It is unbelievable to watch that. And then the very next morning, you are standing on Omaha Beach or you're standing on Utah Beach. It really kind of brings that home. One of the great things about us having the entire ship is we have the flexibility to do these things that I'm talking about to make it special. So yeah, to kind of taking the standard trip and adding to it is one of the things that we do. Somebody asked if you could jump off the ship and swim anytime. I have not seen anybody swimming in the Seine.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, there you go.
But I will note too, John, that this is a wonderful opportunity on Uniworld to have your whole entire group on board. Our staff, our tour guides, John does a really great job briefing everybody on, what the values are of your group coming on board so that we can cater to, your personal interests, the things that bring you all together as a group and create, even if it is an itinerary that we do all the time, we want to make it special and meaningful for your group each and every time. So we're really looking forward to hosting.
Yeah, it's the most popular cruise we do. And I mentioned Danube Holiday Markets. I could list Douro and Venice and Veneto and all of the different itineraries we've done with Uniworld over the years. This is far and away the most popular. There's a reason that Phyllis picked this as the first cruise group for her association to do, because it's easily the most popular. When do you need to decide about adding airfare? There is no deadline for it. As I mentioned, the flight schedules won't be out until probably mid-July, maybe even early August. I mean, I never want to say what the airlines are going to do because they're kind of on their own kind of agenda. But there's no deadline. I mean, if you don't want to book your flights until 30 days prior to the cruise, you're more than welcome to do that. The one thing that, the only reason we recommend booking early is the most desirable flight schedules fill up quickly, and most airlines lowest price will be when they first open the flight, and then as the flights fill up, they'll increase the price. So there's that kind of price in scheduling advantage to do it earlier. But we literally did Venice and Veneto in September of last year, and somebody called and booked the cruise and their air 6 days prior to departing on the cruise. I can't believe they even found flights. But anyway, activities on board. Okay, it's a small ship. There are not a lot of activities. There are pretty much, when you look at it, there's excursions to go to, and you can get off whenever you'd like. There is a pool on board, if you want to call that. Actually, there's two lounges. The main lounge where everything happens in the back of the ship. There's a small lounge, and kind of the dance floor, for lack of a better word, in that is actually a pool during the day. It's kind of cool if you see it. The floor lowers and it ends up being a pool with stairs into it, but it is more of a wading pool. It is not on deck. It's not swimming kind of thing. I'm not really sure. I mean, they have, it's going to be a much fuller schedule than you think when you ask about activities on board. You get up in the morning, you have breakfast, you go on an excursion, you come back, you do lunch, you have an excursion, you come back, there's a cocktail party before dinner, you have dinner, and then after dinner, there's an event. Don't know about 2026, but I can tell you in 2025, one of the events that Uniworld's been doing that's a lot of fun is the 70s dance party one night on board. We kind of push everybody to dress up. It's just a lot of fun to do something. So there's not really a lot of downtime. There is a deck. People go up and sit on it, and you have a drink. All your beverages are included. So, am I missing some kind of onboard activity, Jennifer? Really? I mean, the days are so full. I don't.
Yeah. They really are. And I would say the main difference when people think of cruising, it's not ocean cruising, like you mentioned, John. We're not sailing for much of this itinerary at all. You're right there. So, people are off the ship doing things, but we do have the most common area space compared to other river cruise lines. But I do want to see your note, since we've had the question about the kids with the wading pool. It's not like a featured pool or anything like that. It's small indoors for you, to enjoy. But
It would be like
mentioned,
if your living room in your house, like a
yeah,
middle section
exactly.
of like 12 foot by 12 foot drops down, and the pool is probably not more than a few feet deep. So,
Yeah, but
the,
we have the top deck for viewing. I mentioned we bring
yeah,
on entertainment and have something going on every evening in the lounge for you.
yeah,
So yeah, I would say you're not going to be bored.
yeah. We'll add activities as needed. Okay. Are transfers included? My understanding is in 2026, transfers are no longer going to be included with Uniworld. I can tell you that they're always an issue. The way it currently is with their transfers is the transfer is only from the airport to the ship on the day of embarkation, and only from the ship to the airport on the day of disembarkation. Most people come in at least one day early. We highly recommend it. The transfers are only from Charles de Gaulle. So if you come into Orly or you come in by train, let's say you go somewhere first, you're not going to have the transfers anyway. We can arrange them for you if you want. We do provide a concierge level of service. We have companies we can do, so you have a private driver come and pick you up. But honestly, it's Paris. The easiest thing really to do is just grab a cab or grab, an Uber. It's $40 from the airport to the ship, depending on traffic or whatever. Is alcohol included with meals? Yeah, Marianne. And if we didn't make this clear, a lot of people know Viking. Viking does beer and wine at lunch and dinner. From the moment you walk on the ship. We talked about this being more of a hotel experience. If you've gone on an ocean cruise before, you know how embarkation goes. You go to the terminal, you sit in the terminal, you know, you wait to get on. Literally, the way this will work is you show up the ship, you walk on board any time of the day. Think of a hotel in Paris. If you go to a hotel in Paris, you walk in when you get to the hotel. They take your luggage, they check you in. You don't need documents or anything. They'll have your name. I will have a desk in the lobby, so you'll see me when you board. But anyway, you go and you check in. If you're there early, they'll watch your bags for you. They'll tell you, you know, hey, like a hotel, your room's in the process of being cleaned. It'll be ready around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. If you go up to the lounge, we'll come and get you when it's ready. Well, you could be getting there at 9 a.m. If breakfast is still serving, you're welcome to have breakfast. You're welcome to go up to the lounge. The minute you walk on board and check in, you can go up and have a drink immediately. It's vacation. You know, if at breakfast you want a Bloody Mary, have a Bloody Mary. Same kind of thing. You're on board. They have lunch. You're invited to go down and have lunch. It's an interesting experience because when you go down to lunch, half the people there will be people who are still on from the previous sailing because their flight isn't till later in the day. But yeah, I mean, the entire time you're on the ship, drinks are included, meals are included. And so I kind of alluded to disembarkation. Disembarkation after breakfast, they ask you to vacate your stateroom because they need to start turning them for the next ship, but you do not have to get off the ship. And while you're on the ship, I mean, you know, they'll watch your bags for you. And, you know, let's say your flight's at 3 in the afternoon, so you're going to head to the airport at 12:30. You can get off last minute souvenir shopping. You can hang out in the lounge and have cocktails. You can have lunch on board. So it is kind of that hotel kind of thing. Is there's not, because a lot of time when people get to booking their flights, they go, when is embarkation? When is disembarkation? And the only thing you have with embarkation is the fact the ship's going to sail around 5:30. If I remember correctly. And this is a year and a half down the road, so they may change it. But yeah, so as long as you're on the ship before it sails, you can come anytime in the morning till that time. And then disembarkation, the ship actually overnights in Paris the night before you disembark, because I have people say, well, I'm on a 7 o'clock flight. Will I be able to get off in time to get to the airport? And it's like, absolutely. I mean, we've had people before that are transferring to the airport at 4 in the morning because they're that early of a flight. And yeah, the ship's there. As I said, you can walk on and off whenever you want. Okay, the last question, is there any chance that Major General Mary Kay Edler will be joining us? I do not know. I'll say this. I think Phyllis had to leave because she was another thing. I will pass that on to her and ask her if she's been invited. I mean, everyone's invited, but I don't know. She has not booked yet. How about that as an answer to the question? But we still have space available. So anyway, I think that's the end of the questions. 40. That's about twice as more as we're going to get. I love it. I love the excitement about this. Okay. On screen, you have the phone number, email address. If you think of any questions, it always happens. You go to a webinar and an hour later, day later, you're going to think of something. Give us a call, drop us an email. As a reminder, you're all going to get an email in probably a couple of hours. It will have not only a link to watch the webinar again, but it will have a link to the website where you can go in where all of this information is. So I want to thank everybody for attending. It is going to be a blast. If you can make it, you should join. As I said, we do a lot of these trips with Uniworld. This is easily the most popular itinerary we do. We're going to do a lot of customization on board to make this a trip of a lifetime, something you're going to remember for years and years to come. So we certainly hope you can join us. I look forward to seeing you on board. And then Jennifer, on behalf of myself, everyone at Brenco and everyone at Military Women's Memorial, we want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule. Obviously, you've been here for an hour and a half now, but we spent a lot of time preparing this and everything else. And I know you work with a lot of accounts other than military women. So we just want to thank you for your time and turn it over to you for the last word.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jon. We're so excited to host your group on board. Jon's team at Brenco will take such great care of you guys and get you into safe hands with us for a trip of a lifetime. It was amazing to meet Miss Phyllis, and I hope that our paths will cross again soon. And wishing you all safe travels. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for
Goodbye.
joining us, and I look forward to seeing you in Paris.